Hello and welcome to the next installment in our mini videos about the topics of our book, Perspectives on Possibility. This is a collaborative book written by the members of the book writing group that I facilitate. I'm your host, Susan Crossman, and I work as an author coach and an editor for mission oriented, heart centered, soul inspired coaches, healers, consultants, and innovators, other people who are here to write the most impactful book that they can while making a difference in our world. Over the next few minutes, we're going to take a deep dive into the heart and soul of Perspectives on Possibility, which is a book that took shape over the course of almost a week spent in the Canadian Northlands at a gorgeous cottage on a lake called Clam Lake. And I can share a little bit more about that with you. We had such a magnificent time while we were there. Uh, who knew that a whole book was going to come out of just simply 5 days in the bush? It did take a little bit longer than that. We got about 85% of the book content completed in the time that we were together, which was phenomenal. When I think about it, it's not something I ever could have predicted would have happened, but the energetic frequency of what we created together was incredibly powerful. And of course, we were facilitated by the gorgeous nature that was around us. We uh, have, I guess, two, four, six, seven authors that are involved. We have only five of the authors with us today, and they are contributing to our conversations today. We have a lovely picture of all of us up at Clam Lake. This is one of our evening meals. The food was beautifully prepared and presented and provided to us by Susan Eva, one of our participants, and her daughter Kirsten. The food was phenomenal. We really ate like kings and queens and had a magnificent community time up there together. We also used a lot of energetic frequencies in the whole experience that we collaborated on and putting together. Susan Eva is a sound bowl healer. She brought her orchestra up with her to the lake, and they were in top form. Those bowls performed magnificently and created a really phenomenal energetic frequency that we flowed with and rode through the whole time that we were up there. It was a truly, truly beautiful experience. We also used another set of energetic sets, frequency setters, and in that we were using oracle cards. We had the fabulous deck by the Crystal Sound Healing deck from Geraldine Glass. And we also enjoyed candles and journaling and really had a lot of wonderful things going on. Also, as part of the book process, were the energies of the animal spirits around us. Um, there was a little chipmunk that made its appearance while we were there. And of course, being in Canada and probably in many parts of the world, including the United States and Europe, there are chipmunks everywhere. And there was one little chippy just came up on deck. We did provide some peanuts for her or him. And but one day the little chippy came charging into the house, which created a great deal of excitement. The energy of the chipmunk so is grounded deeply within the book. Um, and thank you to Cynthia Aldridge for stewarding the selection of the animal totems that were matched to each of the chapters in this book. As you can see, we've thought this through and felt this through very carefully. And so it was a really wonderful, wonderful experience to have these books, the energy of embedded in our book. Again, if you'd like to purchase the book, I invite you to find it on Amazon, or perhaps there's another link, another bookseller where you will be able to find it. We will provide the link at the place where you find this recording as well. The book is called Perspectives on Possibility, and we would love it if you would purchase the book and go a little deeper with the philosophy that you'll be finding another taste of here today in our conversation. So we're going to kick off our conversation today with another one of the chapters of topics of the book, which is authenticity. And the question that we all decided together would be a good question to answer was, how does one tell the difference between one's authentic self and one's manufactured self? And I would love, Cynthia, for you to start us off with that.
Oh, I'd be glad to do that. Thank you. I've discovered that I can feel it. I can feel my authentic self. I feel what it feels in me. It's empowering to be authentic. And I've struggled a long time. It was a challenge for me to come up out of my childhood and to be authentic because I was taught not to be. And but in if it's a difficult situation, even to be yourself and to say what you have to say, it's so empowering. It feels so good. And conversely, what I call the mask is, it really feels hollow if you compare and contrast to when you're being authentic, and it's like, oh man, I really put my mask on today, or whatever in this situation. It feels much, much different, and it rings hollow to me. So I always strive to be as authentic as I can possibly be.
Beautifully said, Cynthia. I agree. I think that the true authentic self is a feeling. We've all been taught and programmed in a certain way to become the person that the world thinks we should be. But the more we tap into the frequency and the more we go into our true self and say, what really matters to me, and allow ourselves to think big and to dream big, and what feels right for me, what feels right. And the more we act from the feeling, I've got so much experience here. Every time I act from the true feeling and I trust it, magic happens. And I know that comes from my authentic self, not the manufactured self. And I think most of us have been programmed throughout our lives to come from that manufactured place. But the true joy of fully living, I think, comes from tapping into that authenticity and the feeling, and accessing that knowingness, that deep wisdom that comes from deep within our soul.
Yeah.
John, what would you say to all of that?
Oh, of course. Um, I struggled as a young boy, being a man, and I grew up in the 50s and the early 60s, around not feeling loved unless I performed in a certain way. And I saw when I didn't perform in a certain way, there were a lot of negative things that were quite brutal. And so I gave myself up in order to be the self that was expected of me. And I did pretty good. I was a good student. I was a good athlete. I did all the good things. And yet there was a burning place inside of me that was calling, that was saying, what the heck are you doing? And I didn't know what that was until I finally came into contact with my true soul. The soul of me was not manufactured by my environment. It was there long before that. But I had lessons to learn from my environment. I had lessons to learn from my manufactured self. That's why I came here, and my soul understood that. Once I opened up to that, and I started living my true self, my authentic self, my whole life changed. And everyone around me that came into my life changed. It wasn't the old people that I was trying to impress. All of a sudden, there were people that were magnificently, incredibly beautiful and loving and sharing, and I supported that. And then I realized that's my authentic self. That's who I want to be in this world.
Mm.
And from that point on, that was the life that I dedicated myself to. My sole purpose in life was to share love instead of to share what was supposed to be in order to my ego to feel okay. And it's worked out pretty good.
Hmm. Oh my God, I love that. I love that response, John. I've learned that my authentic self is the version of me that doesn't need to perform. It's the part of me that's grounded and steady and at peace, even when I'm not perfect. while I'm making mistakes. I can laugh at myself. What my manufactured self is the one that's hustling, the one that's hustling to make things happen, hustling for approval, hiding my messes, and trying to control outcomes. The difference is in the feeling. Authenticity feels like freedom and alignment, while the manufactured self feels like tension and exhaustion. So I follow those cues to follow my authentic self.
Wow, brilliantly said, everybody. I love everything that everybody contribute to that. That's so important that we understand the difference between our authentic self and our manufactured self. And so another topic that we looked at in the book was that this issue of trust. And so the question I'd like to put to everybody today is, what does trust mean to you? And I'd love to start with John this time, if we could.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Trust. I heard it called a number of things when I was younger, and it wasn't really about trust, because trust was not a well sanctioned word, because trust meant submission. Trust meant give up all the stuff that we're feeding you and just trust the process, trust love. And so I went through the fantasies of who and what life was about. And I went through, oh, I hope I can do that. I hope that will come to me. And I also felt like then after that was like, if I believe this, I don't have to go to fantasies anymore. I don't have to hope for anything. This belief is going to give me the ultimate truth, until I realized that it didn't quite mesh in the way that I felt in the deepest part of me, right or wrong. I let that go until I finally allowed myself to take a deep breath and simply trust that there's a universal energy of love coming through every one of us. And there's no difference between me and you. There's no difference between any of us at that very core level. And so I didn't have to fight anything anymore. I didn't have to have this strict thing of that I am right and you're wrong. I let go of all of that. And when that happened, I simply trusted that there is love as the source of everything in this universe. Every mineral, every plant, every human being, every animal has that core energy. And it allowed me to open my heart to just simply trust. And what's happened since then? It's been pretty good.
I love that. I love that, John. Trust for me is surrender with confidence. It's knowing that I don't have to hold everything together because I can rely on God, on my own resilience, and on the people I've chosen to walk with. Trust is a decision to release control and lean into faith, even when certainty isn't possible.
Well, and I could say ditto to that for me too, Lydia. Um, it's been a long journey for me to learn to trust myself. And it really happened when I was living on my own for the first time in my life, which was in my mid 20s. And it was amazing, because finally I had the space around me where I could just sit with myself, ask questions, um, and explore myself. And with that, that was the beginning of learning to trust myself, of learning to trust the times when I was authentic, and the times that I felt for what I felt. That was the beginning of really being able to acknowledge how I really felt. And so trusting myself then led to being able to trust other people, because I could feel that in them.
Beautifully said, Cynthia. And for me, trust is a feeling as well. You know, most of my life I spent I'm going to say from the mind thinking, can I trust this? Can I trust that? And there's a lot of stress that comes from that because you never really know the right answer. And we have to learn by making the wrong choice and living with the consequences. What I have learned is the more I've gone into the truth of who I am, my authenticity, trusting myself, trusting my gut instincts, answers come to me and they feel right. And where that fits in the outer world is I have a better knowing of when to trust something in the outer world and when not, because I trust my own gut feelings. You know, it is a self-empowerment piece. When you can trust yourself, then you can know where to trust in the outer world, and you don't get pulled off core by it because it's a feeling, and it comes from accessing that true self. So it's a beautiful thing. And then the mind doesn't have to get involved and get stressed about it. It's a knowingness that rises, and the more you activate it and practice it, the better you get at accessing it. It's a beautiful thing. And gosh, why could we not trust ourselves more than anybody else, right?
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
Goes back to the manufactured self versus the authentic self. So
Isn't it interesting how all of these topics are actually woven into each other? They're all part of each other, just as we're all, as John pointed out, we are all part of one another. We are all alike in so many ways. There's so many similarities and commonalities. And I want to appreciate our authors today for bringing your brilliance and your wisdom to this beautiful book, Perspectives on Possibility. And I would like to invite everyone who's watching today to find the book and see for yourself how many wonderful things are available to us as human beings in a body on a planet, and also encapsulated in the pages of Perspective on Possibility. There are a lot of interesting perspectives in there. And I think we've all grown through the writing of this book, and it's our hope that everyone who reads it will feel a sense of evolution and expansion as you pursue the pages of this book as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you well, and we'll see you in our next video.